I know you're gonna dig this.
This is Rhine McLin, host of the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center's award-winning show, Funk Chronicles, recorded live here at DATV Studios in Dayton, Ohio. Zooming in all the way from Trenton, New Jersey, Mr. Kym L, guitarist with the group Instant Funk. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to be on the show. And as I was reading all about you, Kym, and Instant Funk, to know that Trenton wants to claim a little Instant Funk. Yeah. So what an opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
What I would like to do, Kym, is I want to start off, how did you get interested in music and what led you up to Instant Funk?
Well, a lot of people ask me that, and I have to go back to how it actually happened. I don't know, I guess I must have been about 7 or 8 maybe. And you know how the kids like to go to the roller skating rinks and things like that. Well, a bunch of us were walking home from the skating rink, and in town we used to have these movie theaters. We had about three or four of them. Well, this one, sometimes they have like movie shows, and then sometimes they would have live shows. So this particular day, I'm walking up the hill, and I'm coming past the Capitol Theater, and I see this real long white limousine. It just pulls up in front of the theater, so I'm curious, all of us were, we were kids, and as we're getting closer, the door swings open, and I'm standing there like I couldn't say anything. My eyes were all puffed up, and Mr. Wilson Pickett steps out of the car. And now I really can't speak now. He's looking at us, he's saying, hi kids, how you doing? This and this and that and that and this. And finally, I got the lump out my throat, and I said, Mr. Pickett, it's a pleasure to meet you, so-and-so and so-and-so. So he says, I know you're not old enough to come to the show, but here's two tickets, and ask your parents to bring you back to the show. So I take the tickets, I go home, I beg my grandfather to take me down. He takes me down. I'm sitting there, the show starts. Wilson Pickett's band leader at that time was the trumpet player. And he was just so amazing. He's spinning his horn and like glitter all on him and everything. He looked like the second coming to Christ to me, right? And from that point on, I wanted to be an entertainer. So I went and took me some guitar lessons, and didn't do too well the first round, because I'm there. I want the guy to teach me some James Brown and this and that. He teaching me Marietta Little Lamb. That's not what I wanted, because all I saw was Wilson Pickett on that stage, sliding across the stage, doing this thing, and that's what I wanted to be taught. So anyway, I went to him for about a whole year. And finally, I didn't learn a thing because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So finally he tells me, Kym, your grandparents pay great money for you to come to get these like lessons, but it seems like you're not interested because you're not learning. He says, if by next week you don't know this lesson, I'm going to tell your grandparents that it's just a waste of time and that they're wasting their money. Okay? In my head, I was saying, sir, you are not going to tell my grandmother that I have wasted her money not learning nothing. So needless to say, when I came back that next week, I knew that lesson, and the rest is history. And that's how I did it.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's such an inspirational story on two levels. One, it showed that you knew how to do it, but you had chose not to do it. And the second one is that you did it, and look at you today.
God be the glory.
And so here you are learning. Now, you know what's really interesting is that you are your instrument is not the one that fascinated you.
Right.
So, and you want to speak? You want to speak to that?
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, you know, what fascinated me about what I saw that day. Yeah, I originally went to go try to be a trumpet player. But I immediately knew that that was not where my talent lied, because all that it took to get into that is, you know, it just didn't feel right to me, you know. So I was searching, and I saw some other players, you know, like in the James Brown bands with the guitar players that he had at that time, you know, and you know how they used to do their steps and all that kind of stuff, you know. So that's where I magnified to, you know. I was gravitated to doing that, you know. So that's where the switch came.
Now, what was your experience in elementary school as well as high school with your music?
Well, I would say like it got to, like once I got to like the 6th grade or something like that, because I got pretty good at playing the guitar pretty fast after he scared me into learning. You know, like I got good at it pretty fast. So, which goes into the story of how like the instant funk got started, was because I was playing with a like local band at that time called the Meditators, and we would go around and do our little local gigs and stuff like that. But this singing group called the T&Js, which they were older guys, and they were pretty much more established than we were. And my brother Scott Miller and the bass player Ray Earl were already playing for the T&Js, you know, because I was much like younger than they were. And it got to a point where they needed a guitar player, so my brother came and talked to me. You know, I mean, I was a kid compared to them.
How old were you then?
I was 10.
Oh my. Okay.
I was 10, yeah. They were like 12, 13, 14, and 15. I was 10. You know, so, you know, of course, I was open for the challenge, because that's how I always did my music. I always wanted to be around entertainers and musicians and singers that were more advanced than me, you know, because I always like to catch up, you know, to learn, you know, because you could never tell me that I wasn't going to be able to do something. So I always accepted the challenge. And so I started playing with them. Well, even before I started, you know, this is funny of how they got me. And I always tell the truth about things that happened to me. And when they came to talk to me about it, They took me to McDonald's for lunch. Okay, they took me to McDonald's. They sat down there. They bought me like a Happy Meal, and fed me all this glamour about what we could do, where we could go. And I was pretty much sold in. So people always tell me now, Kym, you were very cheap because they bought you for a Happy Meal, you know. But because of the Happy Meal, I got to do all that I've done in my life. If it wasn't for the Happy Meal, I don't think I would have left the band that I was with to come and go with them. And that's a true story. And so we went on, and it actually started as the T&Js, which was the 4-man like vocal group, and it was the Instant Funk. Well, actually at the time, the name of the band was the Funky Music Machine. And we would travel all over this US of A. Matter of fact, we used to come down to like Dayton quite often. Dayton, Akron, like Cleveland and everything. We never went down to Cincinnati, but we used to come there all the time. And we would just get a car, get a U-Haul, pack all the stuff in it. You know, we all sitting close in whoever's car could get us to where we going. And yes, we broke down many, many times, but we prevailed, you know. And we used to travel all over the USA. I'm talking about out to Los Angeles, Chicago, Florida. We just jump in there and go. And like we would be gone 4 or 5 weeks at a time, you know. But before we started doing all of that, somebody had to come and talk to my grandparents because they were very religious people. And they took raising me very seriously. So it was my brother that convinced them that he would take care of me while we were out there because I was much, much younger than them.
What about a manager? Who was, at that time, who was making your gig connections?
Well, at that time, the manager we had was Leroy Ellis. Back in town, they used to call him Big 12 because he was like 6'5", 400-pound guy, you know, and wasn't nobody messing with him because of how big that he was, you know. So he basically is the one that got us to go and to do all the things that we did. Actually, and I'm glad you asked that question because it's a very good question. I have to give him his props because if it was not for him, we would not have become as good of musicians as we became because of how he used to drill us. We used to rehearse from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. You know, we'd have breaks to go home and eat, come back, and we would just do that every single day, which is kind of unheard of today because a lot of musicians don't want to put that much time in. But that's what it takes to be successful and good at your craft. And at that stage, Ryan, we were way ahead of our time. Because, I mean, we used to open up for Johnny Taylor, like the Whispers, Tyrone Davis.
You did Lou
You know, we used,
You did Lou Rawls?
Yes, we did. Well, all that came like later on.
Oh, okay.
You know, but this is in like the early days when we were just riding around and with the U-Hauls and all this kind of stuff. You know, everywhere that we went, you know, we were just that good that everybody just wanted us to perform at their club. You know, because we were rolling to town, not knowing where we're going. We go to the biggest club in the town and say, hey, let us have this door because I know you're not going to pay us because you don't know us. So they give us the door on that first night, by Saturday, by Sunday night, the lines were 2 blocks long of people trying to get in because of what we did on our shows. You know, we used to do a lot of crazy stuff, you know, but it was entertaining, you know, so that's how that happened.
Give me an example of some crazy stuff, but that's entertainment.
Well, some of it, Ryan, I can't say right on the air of what we used to do. But we were very crowd oriented. We made our audience a part of our show, you know, to where they felt like they were involved in what we were doing, you know. So we would do stuff like, okay, like our entrances would come from anywhere. You know, like the show would start, the stage would be empty, and the drummer would start, and we would come from all parts of the club. Some may be up in the second row, some may be out back in like the kitchen, some may be out the front door, but we all would come in, and the people didn't know what was going on because they didn't know if here's a bunch of guys coming into a place that they didn't know if trouble was getting ready to start or what was going on. So they were all confused. But then when we made our entrance to the stage and we kicked off the song and we go into our routines and all this kind of stuff, you know, I mean, like people are applauding like crazy and we didn't even do anything yet because the entrance was so surprising. You know, we used to do those kind of things. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. Like after we ran into Bunny Sigler, you know, it really kind of took another level, you know.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we ran into Bunny. Actually, we were trying to get a record deal for the singing group because they were the out front act. And we went over to Philadelphia with to like Norman Harris's place. Norman Harris was one of the Mighty Three. Well, not the Mighty Three, but Baker, Harris, and Young, like the rhythm section that did all of the tracks for all the Philly stuff, you know. And like Norman had his own like labels, so the manager took us over there to try to get a record deal for like the singing group. So we're all there, and like Norman wants to hear us, you know, like sing a song. So we started playing, and in the midst of that, Bunny Sigler walks in the door, you know, while we're going through this audition, and the man just walks in, comes up to where we are, grabs the microphone, and just starts jamming along like with us. You know, we didn't know him from Adam, but the energy that we were giving off was so electrifying that he couldn't help it, you know, because Bunny was crazy anyway. I mean, crazy in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, and he would, you know, he'd come in and it just, Ryan, I'm telling you, it was like, it was just meant to be, you know, the way that happened. So after that, you know, the singing group had got a deal with Alan like Rubenstein. I forget the name of the record label, you know. But at one point, because Gamble and Huff and them started to hear about us, and they came and they checked us out. They couldn't get the singing group because they had already signed with another label, but he wanted the band, and so there was a big confusion now because it seemed like things were about to get split. And there were some that didn't want to split us up. And there were some that were saying, it'll be fine because we got two different entities that we can pull from. So make a long story short, that's what happened. And that's when we went with TSOP, and the singing group went with Alan like Rubenstein. And from that point, things on both sides started getting a little like rocky because it was more attention being done with the band now than it was with the singers, because the singers made the wrong choice and we made the right choice. So that just like fizzled out to where now it's just the band. But before that happened, of how the name Instant Funk came up, was that because it was the funky music machine at first. But there were so many shows that we would be on that the energy was so electrifying coming from the band, that the manager has said one day, because we had a very good show and he was excited and happy and everything, and he says, "Man, you guys are the bomb, man. You guys just, it's like you guys come on stage and you, from the 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like instant. It's like instant funk." And he said, "Man," he said, "that's what your name is going to be from now on. Forget the funky music machine. You guys are going to be Instant Funk." And that's how we started the name. And then we went to Gamble and Huff, and along with like Bunny, and like Bunny was writing songs for some of everybody over there, you know. So whatever projects that he had, he used us as the rhythm section. So that's when we started to start our name, to like develop a name for ourselves, because Baker Harris and Young, who were the dominant force over in the Philly playing all these tracks, all these sessions, well, now had some competition between Kym Miller, Scotty Miller, and Raymond Earl, which was Instant Funk. So that's how the thing happened. Like we became good friends. We learned from them and from Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff, you know, because there's a big difference between live music and recorded music. You know, like a lot of times musicians think because they're very talented, that makes them able to do whatever it is musically. But I can tell you, from coming in on a recording session with Kenny Gamble for the first time, that we were playing this song. I can't even remember the name of the song, but it was a song that I liked a lot, and I started doing all kind of stuff, all on the guitar and everything. He walks in the studio and he stops us. And he says, "Kym," he says, "Son, I know you can play this guitar. I know you know every note on this board. And I know that you can do what you do. But for this record, all I want you to play is chink, chink, chink," right? And I'm saying, chink, chink, chink. I'm saying, what, you know? So, of course, I do what he tells me to do. But after we finish the recording and we go back into the control room and they play the song back, I see what he's saying. Now I'm learning how to structure a song, how to put it together, and how to make the music complement to whatever the singers are doing or whatever the melody to the song is. So that's what we started to learn. We started to learn how to do that. And we carried it even further. We used that in our live performances, to where now our live performances musically are starting to sound like a recording. It's got the live feel, but it's got the polish of the recording, you know, which like a lot of acts, you know, didn't mess around with, you know.
That was a very powerful lesson, a learning experience.
Yes. Yes.
And I guess I never have thought about production versus performance and entertainment, and that's why folks want the music to sound like the recording.
Yes.
Because that's what they're familiar with.
Yes.
So instant funk moved on to when you started playing behind the Manhattans and the OJs and.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
so
These were, we played for them during their recordings. You know, we never played live with them. It was on their recordings. You know, because what was starting to happen was that we were developing a new sound that everybody wanted. You know, and it's like that. It's just like with the Evelyn King with her Shame, with her first two albums. That's all us. Every single song of hers is a Shame and all that kind of stuff. You know, Archie Bell and the Drells, Let's Groove, Soul City Walking, and all that kind of. That's all us. You know, like the Manhattans, we did. I can't remember the name of the song, Ryan, because we did so many things, but I do know like the album. With the OJs, we did Strokety Stroke and I can't think of the other song, but it was one of their big hits. I can't think of the name of it. But I got the gold album for it, so I'm all right.
So yeah, you've had an extensive musical history, and we don't have to ask you whether you support funk because you are the instant funk, and but I do want to know to tell us at least 3 highlights that thus far in your career that really stand out, and 3 lessons learned.
Okay, 3 highlights. I could say, first of all, working with,
and not the Happy Meal,
No. The 3 high points, I would say, the very first concert event that we did, which was with P-Funk, George Clinton. My second would be meeting Mr. Barry White. My third high point would be working with the Barcades. And I'll try to tell you a little bit about each one. The first one, working with P-Funk, being that it was our very first ever concert. Walking into a big arena. As a matter of fact, we were in Pittsburgh, and we rolled up. We come and we go through all the stuff that you do to prepare for a show that night, and we get up to the point where it's time for us to perform, and we walk out of the back into the arena, and in them days, those fire sticks that everybody had, you crack them and they light up. Well, the arena was pitch dark. But when I walked out there, I seen thousands of these night light sticks. And Ryan, I'm gonna tell you, my knees buckled like they never buckled before. I've never been nervous in my whole entire life about performing, but that, my first ever concert in front of 30,000 people, that had my knees buckling. And so it's true when people say that success will either make you or it will break you, because it will either scare the daylights out of you to make you run the other way, or you're going to just jump into it and say, well, Lord, whatever you got for me, I'm going to do it. So I took the latter. I just jumped because I always was like that. And from that point on, it was fine. But for that split second, I had 2 choices, either to run or to jump into it, So that was my first. My second with Mr. Barry White was just so amazing, because he was such a humble person, you know, and just to have him say, son, I want you on my tour, was an honor in the first place. I was just blown out then. But to meet him, you know, he called us in his dressing room, and he sat there and he made us feel so at home, you know, because we were all like a bundle of nerves, you know. Mr. Barry White, we in there with him, and, you know, and he just calmed our nerves. And he gave us some great advice about the music industry, of what to do, what not to do, things like that, you know, which I thought was, I didn't take that lightly, you know, because in the midst of all of these things that had happened to me so far, since I was 10, mind you, that I'm learning along the way. And at this point, I was not a whiz in the music business, not as of yet, you know, so I still had tons of things to learn, you know. So I was very appreciative of him bringing us and talking to us, you know. And, you know, not even saying about the shows, because he made sure that everything we needed was there. Not like other shows, and that's another story. But my third highlight was performing with the Barcades, because James and the rest of the group were very nice, like people. When they asked us to do the tour with them, it was basically because of, you know, I Got My Mind Made Up, and it was a big hit, and, you know, everybody wants to hit songs on their tour to draw the most like people, you know. So they were kind of feeling us out at first, because we didn't know them and they didn't know us. But after the first night of performing, because here was the tour that we learned most of what it is and how to perform in a 30,000, 40,000 like person arena, and how to connect with your audience, because it's different when you're sitting in a club where the people are 3, 4 feet, 5 feet away from the stage, where you can walk down and maybe, you know, sing to them or touch them or whatever to make them feel, you know, what entertainers do. But in an arena, you're sitting on a 10-foot, 12-foot high stage, and all these people are so far away from you. How can you give that audience the same experience that you give an audience which is up close and personal in a club? There's a trick to it, and the Barcades are the ones that taught us how to do it, you know. Because I mean, I was just so amazed with them, and I really hope that they hear this interview, because I'm giving them top props, because they deserve it. You know, it was a tour, I mean, like a show. It was GQ, Instant Funk, and Barcades, okay, which we got along fine. And that show was so electrifying, because GQ had the Disco Night song out, and that was hot. You know, we had I Got My Mind Made Up, and I think Barcades had like the Holy Ghost song. Okay, so it's 3 hot songs that everybody want to hear, and like the GQ would come out and they do their show. Ryan, you would think that they were the headliner. That's how hot that they were, you know, and the reception from the audience and stuff, you know, the energy, you know, because that's what us musicians drive off of is energy from our audience. And so, but you would think that they were the headline. And so after they got done, like we would come out there and like slap them all around. You know, they'd be all like silly from the time we got finished with I Got My Mind Made Up. They'd be all silly. And Ryan, I'm telling you, the barcades would come on and just knock them down like they were bowling pins. That's how tough that show was, you know. And like, I mean, the barcades used to come out and they used to use a lot of pyrotechnic stuff, you know, with the bombs and all this kind of stuff, you know. And the first time, man, that bomb went off, it scared the mess out of me because I didn't know what to expect. But them boys were incredible. And like the show was really good. The show was really great. So those 3 points of my career, well, I have more too, but you asked me for 3.
Yes, I know that you have more. I just wanted you to narrow it down.
Yeah.
And your 3 learning points.
My 3 learning points were to like number 1, don't think that everyone that smiles with you is for you. That was number 1. And like secondly, you know, I learned that in this business, like people want things from you to benefit them. Okay, it's okay to help out, but just recognize those who are for you and who aren't. And the third thing that I learned was that I know that I never wanted to be like a lot of the artists that I encountered, as far as being ugly, being unkind, you know, like treating people fairly and justly. And I have to give this other point. I know you asked me for 3, but the most important thing that I learned is know the music business. Know the business. You know, it took us a long time to learn. You know, we lost a lot of things because of our naiveness to the business side. So, but you can't fool me now.
Well, hey, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I think that even though that's your 4th point, I think that's probably one of your most powerful points, because
yes.
If you're going to be in this business, know the business.
Yes.
And
yes.
we've seen so many of our entertainers that who paved the way, and our heroes and sheroes who have paved the way in this business, never really enjoying the fruits of their labor.
Yes.
So what I'm going to ask you now is, Kym, what are you doing now? What's Instant Funk? What are you doing now?
Well, we are live and active. Matter of fact, I have a date this month on the 26th. Mercer County Parks. They're doing a concert series. Matter of fact, the series starts this week, but our date is not until the 26th of this month. You know, being with all this COVID stuff, you know, everything just took a standstill. And I don't mean just in the States. I mean, this thing stopped the music industry all over the world. You know, because I had 7 dates for this year, which every single one canceled out, you know. But we're active. You know, like the live show is very intense. we're still recording, writing. We had to change things around because of my brother passed, which was the drummer. So it's just Raymond Earl and myself, like the original two that are left. As far as coming from the I Got My Mind Made Up album, like the lead singer that we had passed as well. So we had to change things around, but the act is active and we're as strong as ever. Matter of fact, I could actually say that we're like stronger now because we know more.
I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And my final question is, why do you think it is really important for us to continue to push for the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center? And if you're willing to contribute anything to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, definitely, it's important to continue it because the funk genre has a lot to do with what music is. I mean, it wasn't a fad where it was something that was done and then it faded out. No, funk, like music, is the heart and the soul of a lot of other music that we hear. You can hear it in everything. I mean, you could hear it in pop music, rock music. Everybody takes from funk. That's the originator. I would say that funk is the heartbeat of music because Little Richard, James Brown, Sam Cooke, all these guys, even though that gets into like a little bit of R&B, but it was still traces of funk. So it is very important to keep it in the forefront because, like music goes around, it goes around. So the era of funk being the leading entity is coming back. It's coming back. And, like I say, I'm all for new ways of making music, new ways of like creating it. Nowadays you have a lot of technology that musicians use to do things. I don't have a thing against that, but my preference is live performance. I'm talking about not only on stage, but like studio wise. So if I want a guitar part, I'm going to play it. I'm not going to create it on a keyboard and have it done, which is, it's okay, if that's what you like and it sounds good. But my preference is doing it yourself. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because music has a life. It has a heartbeat. It has a pulse. It breathes. A machine cannot breathe. Okay? So when a musician when a artist, when a like singer who recognizes this can connect with that pulse and the life of the music, then when that entertainer is doing whatever they do, whether they play an instrument, whether they dance, whether they sing, if you can tap into the life of music, then you can project to your audience what you're feeling. They can feel what you're feeling. And that's the importance of funk music, because funk has a life, it has a heart. And the end of your question, yes, I would love to donate something. I just have to find what it is.
Well, we'll look forward to it. I want to just thank you so much, Kym, for this interview.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
And I really appreciate it. This is Rhine McLin, host of the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center's award-winning show, Funk Chronicles. Until next time, keep it funky.
God bless you.
Come on, you can get it.